to this day. I've written over 125 articles in Huffington Post. And these articles are usually written when I am in a fit of pique. When I'm really pissed at something. That's usually when I write. And I found that I usually get in a fit of pique about 20 times a year on average. Well, why? But this seems, I don't know, 20 into 52. With that, every three weeks, I really get annoyed and aggravated by something, and I just sit down and rip away. So, I have written a lot of things. Some of you may know me from my fracking experience. I was right there at ground zero when we were in a fracking frenzy in Pennsylvania. My governor, who I agree with 85, 90% of the time, was wrong on this issue. I told him he was wrong. He said, "Thank you, Lance." I've known him for 25 years. He said, "Thank you, Lance, but I'm going to continue to be wrong." And here it is. It followed me out here. I feel like a jinx, you know? Oh, my goodness. We got it out here, too? Oh, well, Governor Moonbeam will never let that happen. Maybe Governor Moonbeam wouldn't. But this ain't Governor Moonbeam. All right? I worked in Sacramento for 9 months for the governor. And I said, I got to get back to Santa Monica. And that's where I am. So, it was suggested to me, why don't you, by someone who obviously appreciates my writing, why don't you take some of this excellently written material that you've put together in your fit of pique over the years, why don't you compile these articles and connect them and infuse in that your conception of what government is and what it should be. And at first I said, I've already written it. Yeah, it's already written. And the person who suggested this said, yeah, it's 75% done. And the more I thought about it, I said, well, you know, maybe I'll do that. Let me take a look at some of the stuff that I've written. Yeah, some of this stuff is 3 years old, you know. And if you're a writer, it's like when something is 3 minutes old, it's old. All right? Well, as I went through all these articles, I started thinking about why I feel the way that I do about whatever issue it is I'm talking about. And I have a very, very strong environment. Right on the note, climate change is the single most important, is the seminal issue of the 21st century. There, make no doubt about it. I say that without any equivocation whatsoever. I've been involved in war and peace issues. I've been involved in Y2K issues where we didn't know on January 1st, 2000 the world was going to end. Ooh, we didn't. And we kept saying to ourselves, I was on the President's Commission on Y2K conversion. We kept saying, you know, if January 1st, 2000 gets here and nothing happens, we won't have done our job. How many times do we say that? If nothing happens, we did a good job. This climate change issue, folks, this is all about the kids. It's all about the future. It's all about them. I was a single father, raised 2 children. And everything that I try to do is for them. And this issue is not about the survival of the planet. We made that mistake when I was with Al Gore in 2006, and he trained us to be disciples to go spread the word, not a church analogy, on climate change. And I've given over 100 presentations worldwide. It's not about survival of the planet. It's about survival of the species. Think about that for a second. Survival of the species. Oh my God, Lance. That sounds really important. It is. That's how important it is. So, I put together these articles. I connected them. I infused in this book not only the diagnosis of the problem, because everybody knows what the problem is. Government is dysfunctional. Pure and simple. It is dysfunctional. I've taught public policy at the college level. I went to the Kennedy School at Harvard. I've given speeches there. I took all my PhD work at George Washington University. Never wrote the dissertation, but I've written a book. Go figure. So, when I started looking at this stuff, I said, what is it that connects all this stuff together? Why does it matter? What's important? You diagnose the problem, but you try to figure out a solution. And so what I have done in this book, not only identify the problem, but identify 6 concrete conceptual remedies to get us out of the ditch. And folks, they're not really that complicated, but they are hard. They're hard. It'll be hard to do. I'm not going to fool you. I'm not going to blow any smoke here. This is not going to be easy. But I think that if we were to follow these 6 conceptual remedies, we would start to get not on the right path, on the correct path. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So, let me talk very briefly, because I know y'all want to engage in a conversation. Let me talk briefly about the 6 conceptual remedies. Everything is premised on this. Remember this. I used to tell my students, if you leave this class, you don't remember anything else, remember this. If you don't ask the right questions, you will not get the right answers. Now, that may sound simplistic, but let me tell you why it's not. There's a concrete example of why it's not. Because in the fracking debate, the question, and I'm an equal opportunity offender here. This is not just Republicans. This is Democrats too. The questions that were asked were, should we wean ourselves off of our dependence on foreign oil? That's like an important question. Does it? Yes? It sounds important, doesn't it? It sounds like, well, yeah, I mean, that's a big problem, right? No. Because the answer is obvious. The answer is yes. Yes, we should. Absolutely. Right? Left, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, libertarian. I don't care who you are. The answer to that question is yes. But it's the wrong question. Because the right question is, should we wean ourselves off of our dependence upon fossil fuels? That's the right question. And that is where you get the controversy. Because if you wean yourself off of fossil fuels, you can't frack. Because fracking is continuing to exploit fossil fuel development. So the apple is never going to fall up into the tree. So you got to ask the right question. Let me talk about my 6 remedies. And let me tell you how I would operationalize those 6 remedies. First one, you have to recommit ourselves as a nation, as a society, as an educated populace, and all of our elected officials have to recommit themselves to the notion that public service is valuable. Well, of course it is. We're all good government folks in here. We're Democrats. Of course government services, public service is valuable. When was the last time you heard somebody say that? That fit on a bumper sticker? You ever remember somebody standing up and leading off a rip-roaring speech with, I believe in public service. Public service has value. Got to get back to that. It is absolutely essential. It's crucial. 2, government can work. I see people about to fall off the chairs. Government can work. I taught a course at Kennedy School called Government Can Work. Students looked at me like I had grown a third eye. Of course, they all wanted to be in the business school across the river. They didn't want to be in the Kennedy School. But government can work. It doesn't, but it can. And we've all seen with our very own eyes, and any of us who has taken history courses knows that throughout our evolution, government has worked. It's slow, it's deliberate, it is sausage making at its best, it's incremental, and it absolutely must rely on the most important ingredient that the genius of the Founding Fathers put into the construction of this government, and that is compromise. Without compromise, we don't work. And right now, what is the most valuable commodity either in Washington, D.C. or in most state capitals? Compromise. Because there isn't any. So we've got to, and California, and I'm going to show, some of my angst here. I worked for Jimmy Carter. In 1980, Ronald Reagan got elected president of the United States. And Ronald Reagan got elected on a very simple proposition. Government is the problem, not the solution. Oh, it sounded snappy, and it made all the conservatives all tingly inside, right? You know how devastating that course of action is, particularly to our form of representative democracy. It's a killer. Got to get back to that notion that government can be the solution, not the problem. Third, we have to reorient our public officials' thinking to think long-term and not short-term. Long-term can't be the election cycle. Can't be to your next election, 2, 4, 6 years down the road. We got to think long-term, not short-term. We have got to replace this inordinate, and I went to Washington in 1978, and I'm telling you, in that period of time, from then until now, we have got to change the focus from special interest to public interest. We have to govern all of our actions by its utility and its value to public interest, not special interest. Number 5. This is particularly close to me. I wrote an article in 1985 during the height of the Reaganomics, and I was working for the U.S. Senate Budget Committee. I was on the Democratic side. We were watching Reaganomics kind of sweep through the country. This asinine, insane, it doesn't even qualify as an economic theory. It's an economic pablum. But it was popular. And I wrote this article. I said, what's missing? And we used to have David Stockman come up before the Budget Committee all the time. Man, that guy was smart. He was the director of the Office of Management and Budget. He was really smart. He used to intimidate senators on our side of the aisle. I think he intimidated on the other side, too. But I wrote this article, and I said, what we are missing in the dialogue, what we are missing in our public discussion is we're overly focused on this term leadership. Think about this for a second. Leadership really doesn't have a... You need statesmanship. What's the difference? Just go to any dictionary. Statesmanship entails vision and wisdom. Leadership, look, Was Ronald Reagan a leader? Yeah, he was. He was a B-level movie actor. He could make love to the camera. Could he lead people? I mean, you only need one ingredient for leadership, and that's followers. Custer, great leader. He made a really bad leadership. Just ask, the relatives of the men that he commanded at Little Bighorn. Got to return this notion of statesmanship. And what does statesmanship mean? It's like one of those things almost. It's like charisma, Well, I know it when I see it. I can't you're on it. Statesmanship, here's what it is, folks. It's telling people things they don't want to hear. I worked for Jimmy Carter, and I don't know what you think about Jimmy Carter, but in April 1977, Jimmy Carter went on national TV. He talked to the nation, and he told the nation and the world, he said, our energy crisis, 1977, is the moral equivalent of war. Want to hear that? Want to hear that? Congress was all Democrat back then. That's what we need. And I've been on national panels over the years, and I ask this question all the time of leading academics and really, really smart people, much smarter than I am. I stand up and I said, name me a pregnant pause. Name me a statesman. Name me somebody that's willing to get up and tell you something you don't want to hear, because in that person's wisdom and judgment and knowledge, it's the right thing to do. And for every politician I've ever worked for over those many years, I've told them, if you do the thing, you'll be rewarded. People do, and they'll say, he's sincere, he's trying to do the right thing. It's really hard. But we're not in this business to make money. Gee whiz, I could have made a lot of money. I could have been a motivational speaker. All right? Okay, that's fine. What's this one? Okay, you're going to love this one. This is important. We have got to remove the corrupting influence of money, not only from politics, but from our system components. Probably the most important thing that we can do in the short term. It'll be hard. It'll be real hard. Talk about spending 80% of your time raising money. I went to work on 78. Then I went to the Carter administration. Then I went back to the Senate. 7 to go work for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I was interviewed by the Journal. They said to me, what's the biggest difference? What's different you noticed? Now that and my response was, when I came here in 1978, the member I worked for spent about 40% of his time raising money. It was in the staff and dialing for dollars. That's when you actually used to dial. Remember those things? The member that I work for has to spend about 75% of his time raising money, and even higher now. That's absurd. That's obscene. And just one, and I'm going to shut up. We do not have a democracy. Don't think that we do. We do not have a democracy. We have a representative democracy. And that means we elect people to make decisions for us. We can participate in all kinds of ways. But those people that we put in elected office are there to do our bidding. And we have the solemn responsibility to make sure they aren't doing the right thing to get the right people in there. Now, how do I operationalize these ideas? Well, here's an idea. Anybody remember in 1994, Republicans around the country doing this little thing? They all had their neat little cards. It's called Contract on America. Well, actually, it's Contract for America, but I call it Contract on America. And it had 10 little items. They're 10 commandments. They all carried them around in their little pockets, and all these yahoos in it, they pull them out, and they read them all. Well, what if, after you read my book, and after I sign it, which means you bought it, what if we had the Simmens precepts? I'm not kidding about this. What if we made it so we had a little card, and everybody that went to listen to the politician, a would-be elected official, said, here's what I want to know and I demand. Where do you stand on these 6 things? And you know what? If you don't have 6 checks, you don't get my vote. Not checks that you write out, checks that you actually check off. You got to do all this stuff to get my vote. Who knows? Who knows? Like I said, we're blessed out here. I know that Ted's sold on all my 6. But that's what we need to do, folks. We need to raise the level of dialogue. We need to raise the level of public discussion in this country to talk about the most important, fundamental, underlying concept of this government. I am a positive person. I know there's a lot of anger and a lot of frustration out there, and you know what? It's all well-deserved. And I have seen far left come together on this partnership. Far right, far left. They're not that far apart. It scares the out of me. But there's that much anger and frustration out there. And what my whole message is that we can make this system work. And as deliberate and as slow and as incremental as this system is, when we have a recognized and an acknowledged crisis, this system can move on a dime. In World War II, we changed this country's manufacturing from a domestic manufacturing base in no time. If people don't understand that climate change is an immediate, threatening crisis, and a crisis, then we're going to have to get there. I believe we can make this system work. Would I like to have an alternative system? I don't know. I might. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. I think we got what we got. And we can either throw our hands up and say, oh my God, this is a mess. I don't want anything. All right, let's figure out how to make this. And the founding fathers gave us the tools to do it. For anyone who's read the Federalist Papers, maybe you did when you were in college, I don't know, maybe you didn't. 85, by the way, it's 86 already. All right? They gave us the tools. John F. Kennedy, when he had a group of Nobel laureates for dinner at the White House, he said there hasn't been a collection of this much intellectual talent since Thomas Jefferson dined here alone. He's right. There is a genius to this system, but it's complicated. It's hard. But we need to make it work. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you so much. I'll take any question. Yes, ma'am.
this isn't about the structure, but this is about climate change. The best sentence I ever heard on this was Fareed Zakaria when he said, "We have a choice between a hard decade or a horrible century." And I think that is a brilliant sentence, and I think that politicians, if they can get his permission to quote him, that would make a lot of people realize what we have to do.
I'll give you one that they don't have to get permission to quote. Pay me now or pay me later.
Well, yeah, but that's the same thing.
No, you're absolutely right. You're right. Anybody else? A candidate. Candidate. Grill me.
In the spirit of pushing back and telling the hard truths, we need some stateswomen, not just statesmen, right?
Absolutely, yes. We need,
but otherwise, totally agree.
We need statespersons. All right. I stand corrected. Joe, make sure that gets in the second edition.
When you talk about global warming, I had a recent experience going to the Page Museum here, which is part of the La Brea tar pits. And one of the scientists from the East said, in 50 years, climate will change. He didn't know whether it'll be cold or warm, but he said it's going now. And they can do this by reading the fossils, the kind of the way the Earth was when they existed. What made them disappear was climate change, the mammoths, everything else. So I just thought that's interesting because right here in California we have a wonderful place to go and look at that and find out more about it.
And you got climate change happening right at your doorstep. 216 wildfires burning in California right as we sit here right now. You remember when there used to be a fire season? It's all year round now. I'm going to go over here, and I'll be happy to talk with anyone, so thank you very much.
One.
Lance has gone over. Where did he go? He's going with his books. I encourage you all to get a book. And I also want to tell you that if you look on our website, which Michelle has diligently been keeping together, as soon as Kelly and Michelle get this evening posted to YouTube, it goes up on our website with a link. So if there's anything more you want to hear, if there are candidates that you missed one of our candidate forums, you want to hear what they had to say, you can go to our YouTube channel. And it's all linked through our website. And it's really exciting, to be able to go back and see what's going on, see what we've been doing. And tonight, this is what we did. And I hope you all enjoyed yourself. And we're probably going to take the month of August off. We will have 2 meetings in September. One will be our summer party, and the other will be a candidate forum for the 26th Senate District. I understand that the supervisor candidates don't want to come to the Dem clubs anymore. I don't know why. I actually called one of them tonight to ask. They will be doing a big one at UCLA, and so we may not be able to actually endorse in the supervisor race, but we probably will be in the 26th. So it'll be the end of September. We're not sure what night it will be. There are Ted Lieu signs on your way out there. This is a whole bunch of them. So please put them on your lawn. He is our endorsed candidate. And thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.